All right, welcome everybody to another expert interview. It is Monday. Can you believe it already? Monday. So today's going to be a lot of fun today. We have the assistant professor, Eric Holt from the University of Denver on, and we are going to cover several topics, one of which is how modular and panelized construction impact housing affordability. And then we're going to jump into what is happening with the students. How are we bringing the young people into our industry? How do we get over the hurdles of no job fairs? What are we doing and how are we going to tackle that? And that's another part of our conversation. But before we start doing that, please note that we are live on 3 locations: LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook, and a test location called Twitch. So we're giving that a try as well. So please hit that like and share button right now if you don't mind. We would appreciate it. All right. So at Dave Cooper Live, we are bringing you the people and the processes that are building it better. Our guests and topics include building experts in building systems, building science, building codes, and the tech used to build it better. And today is no different. The University of Denver is kicking butt when it comes to the higher education and the construction industry with our field. So without further ado, let's bring in Eric. Hey, Eric, how's it going, man?
Hey, Dave. So good to see you. Thanks for
it's good to see you. Definitely. You know, Eric, it's been great. Over the last year and a half since I've known you, we've had the opportunity to have several conversations and discussions, been part of some panels together. And one of the things that I think is so great about what you're doing is you are so active in the community, whether it's offsite construction or regular construction. Why don't you take a few moments and just give everybody a little bit of background on who you are and what you do?
Sure. So currently I'm at the University of Denver in the construction management real estate program. I came out of industry, graduated 1991, Purdue University, boiler up, been in residential construction pretty much my entire career, had a very eclectic career, been a lumberyard sales, a building inspector, a production manager for a custom production home builder, and then got into drawing house plans on the side to fill a market niche, and I ended up owning an architectural design firm as a construction guy. And so I've gotten to see almost all the different facets of the home building industry. And then in 2007, when the market took a realignment, in nicer terms, went back to grad school and chased graduate degrees and fell in love with the teaching side of stuff. And the bigger impact that I can make on industry is training up the new leaders. And so I'm now at the University of Denver. We have a real estate and construction management program, which is super unique. There's nothing else like it in the academic industry out there in the world. And so now I am the residential champion here at DU, teach construction building systems, intro to architecture and plan reading and estimating. So it's a great gig.
It is a great gig. You absolutely love it. I can tell every time I speak with you, and I've been fortunate enough to interview some of the students recently from the housing summit they attended with the Housing Innovation Alliance. So, like I said, you guys are super active. All right. So before we jump into the NAHB student chapter, before we start talking about job fairs and careers and how do the students of today, especially with COVID going on, enter the job force, and how do people find these students? Let's talk a little bit about the impact of modular and panelized construction on affordable housing. Now, this conversation is going to be a high overview of something we're going to do in the future, where we're going to really dive into your presentation. If you've joined us at the NAHB Building Systems Council, we went over this in detail, but we have yet to go over it in public on our platform. But I do think it's important that we start talking about some of the statistics that came out of that. What do you think?
Yep, I agree. It's a hot topic right now. Everybody's looking at how we build houses different. The way we've been building houses in the past it's not working like it used to. So definitely.
That's right. So let's get into this study a little bit. The overall idea of this study, maybe give us just a quick overview of what the study was about, and then let's just jump into some of the fine details.
So it's sponsored by the National Housing Endowment, the giving arm of NAHB. They basically commissioned myself and grad students to go out there and do analysis or review of the challenges and the why affordable housing, the challenges we have in that, and then the challenges in the framing or the labor market, specifically framing. And both of those are huge, major problems in our industry. And then we went through and gathered up a bunch of other studies and data and people and kind of processed it all together to see, what is the impacts if we changed how we built homes. We're basically looking at stick built versus pre-cut versus panelization versus modularization. And there's some pretty significant impacts that can happen if it's done right, planned out well, that can save in the housing market. And that's going to really affordability, making the houses less expensive, and also in labor and changing out how we build using just straight stick built framing. So
right.
So we've got a couple slides here, Dave, that just show you, some of the overall big picture things, statistics that we came up with. Cycle time is a huge one. That's a big labor saving and time saving. But basically, pre-cut and panelization, that only affects the framing cycle, but that can cut 4 to 6 days off your cycle time. For a high production, high volume builder, that adds up, that daily cycle time. To go to a modular, you can cut 1 to 6 months off your cycle time, because that home is being built in a factory while you're doing all your site prep and all that. It can start at the same time as you go break ground. And so it can really impact the cycle time overall in the process. And then looking at, do you change slides? I change slides.
Nope, you go ahead. Here you go.
Forgot who was in control. If we took some of these savings and we applied them to the 2019 just numbers that we had, we're going to apply them to the 2020 now. But just in savings from labor cost, you could cut down $2,500 per home. So that's a significant amount of labor savings, modular cost savings in that cycle time, plus the value of closing 1 to 6 months time quicker. And then we looked at, just in the framing, we could have reduced 1/3 the framing force needed in 2019. So by going to these alternate methods, you can make a significant impact across the nation in this.
Sure. So you're saying in 2019, if we were doing more offsite construction, you could reduce the on-site framers needed by 1/3. Is that what,
yeah.
Did I hear that right?
Yeah. Just what, and we're trying to figure, do the math. If we actually didn't cut back the framers, but if we had taken those framing crews that say had a crew of 6 and you could reduce them down to a crew of 4, what do you do with those other 2 guys? Well, you double up you add more framing crews. So right. By going to these alternate methods, we can actually get more production out of the current labor force that we have. And so it really tells a compelling story to change from the way we've built before. So, and then go ahead.
Yeah. So, very much so. Just looking at some of these numbers, 20% to 50% less cycle time, carrying cost plus value closing 1 to 6 months quicker. So when you say cycle time, and I think I know the answer to this from when we heard this the last time, but are we talking apples to apples from when we build something to when a consumer or an investor takes over the project after it's built? Are you talking about the life cycle of a project to include warranty issues, things
construction time, from permit to closing? So if you can cut out framing time, right. Just if you're going from stick built to either a pre-cut or a panel, or if you can actually, when we break ground and pull permit at the same time they're building the module in the factory, so the fact that the moment your foundation is done, you could in a couple days set the structure. So we're strictly talking from permit to closing. Right.
Okay, great.
And then from a sustainability, the amount of costs that, we looked at it as a dumpster savings, the amount of cost per unit, that's a big cost that adds up and affects the affordability of the units. It's a headache and hassle that the superintendents and the builders have to deal with. And so overall, in the United States for 2019, we could have saved, 3.18 million fewer dumpsters and 1.29 billion in dollars saved. And that's a lot of money. That's a lot of impact on the landfills. Even construction is a very not very lean industry. So those are just some of the big picture things that right. we figured out in our studies and the analysis. What we're doing now is working through to create an offsite guide for home builders. Because a lot of these, we look at these numbers and they're across the nation, but there's a lot of costs and a lot of factors that are very even locally or regionally that make a difference. Travel time, suppliers, subcontractors, framing labor costs vary greatly across the nation from market to market. So that's what we're trying to come up with now is a guide. So depending on what market you live in, what variables and what factors do you need to factor in as you do an apples to apples comparison? I'm stick building now. Do I want to go to pre-cut or panels or even explore the modular construction options? Well, these are the things you're going to need to think through. And then we got that data by interviewing a lot of builders and got a lot of great stories of how it's gone well and a lot of great stories of when it didn't go well and what to look out for. And so we're compiling that into a guide for home builders right now.
Well, I think that's super important. And, diving into that also a little bit, you don't just jump into this and try it once and you're a success. I think that's kind of one of the big things. And I also want to talk a little bit about culture. It's a culture shift. It's a mind shift that needs to happen as well. But, when you look at some of the statistics that you have up here, save 3 dumpsters, it's even more than that because just sending dumpsters to the landfill, they're not sorting it. Most of the manufacturers of these modular panelized facilities, they're taking the excess wood and they're burning it for heat in their manufacturers. So they're reusing it again versus it just filling a landfill and rotting back into the ground with all the chemicals in it.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So there's some significant cost and time to be saved by changing the mindset of how we build homes. And like you said, Dave, it is a culture shift because you have to bring your subs on board. You have to bring all your employees on board, your trades, your homeowners. It's not as simple as flipping a switch and deciding to do it. There are a lot of logistics. It took you a long time to figure out the process you currently have. It's going to take some working through and pre-planning to change that process,
right?
Especially the larger the builder, the larger the ship you have to change. So you nailed it when you said it's a culture shift. It's a major culture shift all the way through the whole supply chain, vertically, so horizontally through your process.
Sure. Well, but this is leading into the next topic of conversation after we're done with this, and that's the youth, right? Because sustainability with today's youth is so much more important than it was to probably you or I when we were getting into the construction field. It wasn't really even thought about. And I think this is part of, I don't see people that are in this space now adopting a lot of the change. I see it as a lot of the newer people coming on and making that change. Are you seeing the same thing?
Yes, very much so. We get set in our ways. The older we get, I hate to admit that, but it's true. And the students I'm training now are getting a lot of training and have this mindset that's different than when I came out of college. The topic of sustainability, life cycle, they want to make an impact on the world more than just make money. And they have some specific things they want to do and accomplish, and they have a desire to be mentored, and they're actually looking at the culture of the industry and a culture of a company that a lot of times is more important than, say, the dollar amount.
Right.
When I graduated, all we cared about was your salary and when do we get a truck. Students aren't as that concerned anymore. Yes, they want a decent salary, but they're willing to take less money to work for a company that's more committed to sustainability, to their culture, to family and work-life balance, to mentorship and training, and making a bigger impact than just the bottom line. And that's one of the things we also teach here at the University of Denver. To be sustainable is a triple bottom line. It's got to work for the planet, it's got to work for the people, and it's got to work in the dollars and the bottom line in the pro forma. So our students are looking at the big picture, not just how much money can they make when they graduate.
Right. Love it. All right, we got more.
That's it on the impacts. Like you said, we're working with NHB, National Housing Endowment, and their Building Systems Council to have the full report and the guide to offsite construction. I think they want to roll out at the International Builder Show this February. At least that's the current plan that we have.
I love it. IBSX, love it. Coming up, that's going to be a lot of fun. We just had a topic on that last Monday's expert interview, so you're in good company, Eric.
Excellent.
I think John McGarry and Greg Ugaldi, who I think just put a comment here, is joining us as well. So we're going to hop into why this is so important moving forward. But first, there was some comments and a question that came in. Let's get to that real quick, and then we'll move on to our next topic.
Excellent.
Will Leverett, what would the profit differential for general contractors building modular versus a standard stick built?
That's the question of the hour, Will. Everybody wants to know, what's the impact of the bottom line? You're going to have to go through. We don't have a factor because, again, regionally, even locally, there are so many variables. That was one of the things that was really almost frustrating in this study, is to come to the conclusion that we talked to modular builders up in the north east that depending if they went north, south, east, or west, even from county to county, they could have a 10 to 20 grand swing in cost because of logistics, shipping, permitting, the different regulations, rules, and code. And so there is not a cross the nation general rule of thumb you can factor you can apply. You're going to have to go through the process because depending on how close you are to a modular factory, just look at shipping logistics. Are we shipping at 10, 20 miles, or we got to go 300-400 miles? That all of a sudden is a different factor. Width of units. A lot of the states, 14 to 16 feet is the widest you can build. Here in Colorado, we're 18 feet. So just the differences in Department of Transportation regulations affects cost, efficiencies, module size, building costs. It's labor. The $2 a square foot down in the Texas area, all the way to $8 a square foot in California, and everything in between. So there are so many variables. There's not one, you'll save 10% or 20%. You got to do the math for your region and locale.
Well, and that's it, right? And like you said, I mean, it even comes down to the county that you're working in within a state. And I think it also depends. I mean, is it residential? Or are you talking commercial construction? There's a whole bunch of different variables: time on site, crane location, parking.
Here in the Denver metro market, between all the counties and all the metro cities that we have to pull a permit in, depending on where we're building, there are 59 different jurisdictions in the Denver metro area. And that can swing your permit costs from anywhere from $5,000 to $50,000, depending on where you're at. That's just one variable that makes it maddening at times for builders when they start looking at offsite or even changing how they build, just from a building code and permitting and regulations. So
yeah, for sure. So he had a follow-up comment, which I would assume that any lost profits could be made up by increasing the number of builds, but I don't see it that way. I don't see it as lost profit. I actually see it as money in the pocket, and I'll let you answer this one too, but I'll give you an example. We did that 7,000 square foot hospital addition with Access Construction and Mod Logic just a few months back when COVID was starting down on Long Island and West Islip. And here's a big deal, right? That hospital, they got the emergency room up and running in 11 weeks. But guess what they didn't do? They didn't spend the millions and millions and millions of contingency dollars that they had set aside because their numbers were dialed in. Now, they had a little bit overrun here and there, but they put millions of dollars back in their pocket because of that. So I think, when we were talking earlier, Eric, about the life cycle of these projects and the risk and the liability and all the things that happens on it, you should be putting a lot more than profit in your pocket on the first couple jobs. But it's a learning curve. You need one or two jobs to catch up.
And Will, I have an issue with you calling that lost profits. You're going to pay more possibly for the manufactured process, but you should be getting a kickback or reduced either in labor cost, closing costs, or cycle time, so you have less carrying costs. So it's not a loss of profit. You're changing your culture. You're paying more for a manufactured product to pay less in issues out in the field, less for labor, less for other parts that you're making a savings up in that. So, the terminology you need to change. It's not a loss of profit. It's a gain and less risk, less contingencies, things like that. And there's tons of both residential and commercial examples of that.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. You know, I always say, especially on the commercial side, when you see the big companies like Hilton's get involved, Chick-fil-A is now doing it. They're not doing it because it's less, because they lose money. They're doing it. They open their doors, heads on beds, everything else starts happening faster. And when you really dial it in, it's a great process.
Yeah,
and that's,
Marriott's gone to it, and they
yeah,
pay more, like $3 a square foot more, but they open up 6 to 12 months earlier than if they had stick built it. So that means right away you pay more for a manufactured product, but gosh, to have that unit, that hotel operational 6 to 12 months earlier, that's
right.
that's money that way offsets that extra $3 per square foot. So
Yeah, for sure. And you know what? They got that, you said Marriott, they got the new, hopefully starting soon here in New York City, the tallest Marriott modular building being built right here.
awesome.
DMD coming from Poland.
Wow. See, there's a cost factor. Yeah, they're going to pay more. They're going to pay more in shipping, but they've realized there's a savings, quote unquote, to opening earlier. And so it blows me away when we see stuff like that.
Well, I got to put on my boxing gloves on this one. Believe it or not, it's less money to ship on a container ship across the ocean than it is for us to transport down the highway.
Wow. Is that
That's
like
what they've learned, especially in the coastal cities, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Who would have thought, right? Yeah. All right, let's say hello to a few people. We got John Jaworski joining us. Excellent guest. Looking forward to the conversation. All right, John, thanks for joining us today. Al Tennyson says, "Hey, Dave, glad to see you as always. Good seeing you as well, Al. I hope you are well." Oh, no. The one and only Judy Donnell in the house. Hey, Judy.
Miss Judy.
Hello, Eric. So glad to see you. Thank you for all you do. And the university is definitely kicking butt. Super cool. It's always great when some of the leaders join us. I love it so much. Jennifer, fewer dumpsters, it'll win all around, not just in terms of dollars saved, offsite construction. Man, we got NAHB in the house today. Greg Ugaldi. Eric always brings very competitive student teams to our NAHB competitions and get to give him their awards. This is great. Oh, he gets to give out the awards. That's right.
Yes, Greg. Thank you.
Yeah. So how are we going to do the awards this year? We got to talk about this. The NAHB, we got to work this one through.
So this year, everything is online, which is,
actually
kind of disappointing. Nothing personal to NHB. It's just the sign of the times. I know it's been a challenge for a lot of teams in their recruiting because, students really look forward to the International Builder Show. It was always a pleasure to bring students there. So this year it's going to be more of a challenge to get young students in front of industry. And so that's one of the things we're reaching out and asking help on. Students are graduating. Students are still looking for jobs. They still have a passion for this industry. There are a bunch of us in academia across the nation. There's a residential champion almost at every state in the union. A lot of schools have multiple of that. And I just want to give a shout out to all my NHB student chapter advisory board and chapter members, professors like myself that came out of industry that we realized we could make a huge impact by training the next generation of leaders. And it's a huge need right now. So for NHB to get students involved and get people into our industry in home building. So.
Yeah, well, for sure, because here, listen, we can't afford to lose a year on this. We're already losing time on the affordable housing fight, with students and what's happening with school and the slowdown in the process. And then, we're not, again, jumping ahead a little bit, we're not seeing job fairs now. How do people connect? Judy, this is a great question. How do the associate members, 80,000 plus of them, how do they find new labor? How does the offsite world find new labor? So we have all these different things that are coming into play. And we're going to talk about this a little bit here, get a couple more questions in, then we'll move on to it. But, we're working with, Eric, talking with Eric and talking with others about bringing the student chapters on the road show with us in February. So we can go to universities, we can stream from universities, and we can invite students to some of the manufacturing facilities and the job sites we're going to give them that hands-on practical experience. But at the same time, hopefully we can stream to all of their classrooms so they can learn. And this is not only great for the universities and the students, but it's great for anybody out there that is looking to connect with these students and to learn from them and have the opportunity to earn them because it's competitive, right? I mean, these
Yeah.
students can go where they want right now, and I think it's going to be a big deal. So stay tuned for that. That's coming up in a few minutes. Let's get through a few more questions here real quick. All right, Jennifer, Eric, when calculating the profit differentials with offsite construction, should builders consider the total life cycle of the process and product, planning and design, all the way through change orders, logistics, and possibly operating costs?
I mean, the answer, Jennifer, is yes. You try and do that. The limitations on our study, we just looked at stick built versus pre-cut versus panelization versus modular, just in the framing sort of thing. But a smart production builder, a smart custom home builder is going to be looking at every aspect and what it can affect in their process, especially if you're doing a major shift in culture. What's your warranty process going to be then if you're shifting to a different product or a different methodology? It's very good to think through that. And that's a challenge, again, a culture shift in our industry is as home building, we unfortunately, a lot of us don't think through the whole process. We think about what's got to get done next week, a week to 3 week out. And that's a construction industry thing, not just a home building thing. But, to go to a manufactured process, they think through the entire manufacturing line from the raw material in to the finished widget out and everything in between, because they've got to design the machine to handle and process that entire thing. So that's a change in mindset for construction and for home builders, just to think through your process as a manufactured process, which means you think through every step and every detail.
Up front.
Yes.
It's the digital twin, so to speak. So you don't have the change orders. You don't have the headaches. They're not all gone, but you can minimize a lot of pain by doing this. And that's the other thing that I don't think a lot of traditional site builders recognize. It's painful up front. You're putting more time in up front, but man, it's so much less money to do it up front than it is in the field.
Yep.
For sure. All right, Judy Donnell, I am also impressed with the way your program is always leaning towards diversity and inclusion. For sure.
Thank you, Judy. I got to confess, the program at DU, we have a real estate minor. We're also in the School of Business. So we have a lot of accounting, marketing majors, management majors. And so it comes easier at our program to be diverse and inclusive than some programs that I've been at, to where the CM program is one program we had one young lady through the whole program. And so it is sometimes it's a factor of the program and the leadership, Dr. Barb Jackson. Sometimes it's a factor of just where we're physically housed in the College of Business and everybody, all the residential champions. And that's definitely a hot topic in our industry, especially in the academic world, is how do we get more young ladies and more diversity into the industry? And right. So actually working with a couple of our educators to do some research on that right now.
Yeah. Well, you guys are doing all the right things. So I'm going to pump you up a little bit, Eric, just because I believe in what you're doing. But it's true, right? Here you are, you're doing stuff at the NAHB, you're in the student chapter, you're writing research papers with grants, from the NAHB and housing endowment, right? They right. And then you're also with the Housing Innovation Alliance, and you're doing work with them and their youth, and you're bringing your students in so they can learn there. And I'm sure there's several other things that you're doing. So it's just not a university program where you just sign, you come, and you take your classes. You guys are actually out there putting the practical sense together with your students, having real conversations with the industry leaders. And I think that just needs to be said.
Thank you. And that's what we're doing. We're trying to just connect up students and industry and prepare them for what you guys need them to be prepared for. So
that's it. Greg Ugaldi, we need the students. Dave and Eric are right. Safety first, and we will work with the students in many new ways. 100%. 100%, Greg. And we're going to keep working to bring the students in. That's why I'm on Twitch now. All right, Cameron Duncan. China fabricated hospitals in record time, weeks. Has the rest of the globe recognized those advantages? Is it strictly through outside design fabrication sources? Cameron in DC area. So, I mean, I have some comments on that, unless you want to go take a stab.
No, I mean, I'm more, I can think of some experts that could answer stuff like that. You, David, one of them. couple other academics out there that do more in the commercial world. I'm more focused on the residential, so I'll let you take this one.
Yeah. So Eric, I mean, Eric, thank you, Eric. Cameron, you're absolutely right. I'm getting tongue tied here. You know, they did do those hospitals in record time, but we have the capability here to do it in record time as well. If we go to the YouTube channel, look at the Good Samaritan on location. If you go to the playlist, you'll see Good Samaritan Hospital, and you can watch the 4 days we were on location. You know, and that was a project just like China, where the municipalities, the town of West Islip, the PA jurisdiction, because a lot of the factories got shut down in the very beginning, all came together and allowed them to put this thing together in record time. So again, they actually did something very similar. I think China was much faster on what they did just from start to finish, but we have the capabilities, and we proved, you know, to ourselves here in the country that this can be done. Think about an emergency pediatric room, right? This is concrete floors, all the oxygen lines run, all the MEPs were in, even the pneumatic pharmaceutical delivery system, right, to deliver was already in place, to include, I think they call it decompression chambers, right, where rooms where you can completely block off. And from the time they put it on the foundation to the time they were seeing patients was less than 11 weeks. That's a big deal. Heck, we can't even get a single family modular home done in less than 90 days.
You can't get a permit for that, for a single family home module. Listen, Dave, you mentioned all the jurisdictions and the factories and the people. That's a culture shift across the whole, not just within the company, the whole build cycle, which includes all the government, all the regulations, all the permitting. That's impressive. So
it is very impressive. And we were talking about some of this with Greg on the show not too long ago. You know, and we had some of the code officials on that are writing the new codes, but they're actually really all starting to take a good, strong, hard look at how do we adopt offsite methods into the building codes so it can take the burden off the building officials who don't truly understand it. You know, we can't expect everybody in the field to just accept what we're doing if there's no understanding put out there for them and no training for them. So it's a big ship to turn, you know, 180 degrees. It's just not going to happen overnight.
Yep.
Not going to happen overnight. So yes. Oh, look at this, Judy Donnell. This is going to kick us off, Eric. Let's hop into our next part of our conversation here. We are starting a workforce development task force, which will show students the associates, trades, and services within our industry. Love it. Excellent. I love it. Well, I mean, that's kind of what we've been talking about as well, Eric. You know, talking about we are doing our road show in February. We're going to hit the road. And just like Judy's talking about, we want to go and see the suppliers, the manufacturers, the people that are doing it differently, that are doing it better, the educational, you know, universities such as yourself, Stonepile, some of the Clemson, right? All these other universities that are doing, you know, real things with real.
And don't forget the 2-year programs, the 4-year, or not just 4-year programs. I mean, I'm training managers, but the 2-year programs, the technical schools, the high schools. It's not going to be one academic or one of the education ecosystem that's going to solve this. It's going to be all of us working together. And so as you go out there and look to educate students on the different trades, the different manufacturers, that's one of the problems I have in academia a lot of times is we think our program is the silver bullet. It's not. Right. It is going to be, we got to train up labor. We got to train up tradesmen. We've got to train up managers. And we're heavy on managers right now and very light on trades. And so it's going to be good to get the word out to all the different education.
Yeah, for sure. Well, you know, with the NAHB student chapter, I made a banner for that as well, because I think it's super important, because the only way we're going to get out to get the trades, to get the laborers back, the skilled laborers, is if they know what the heck's going on in our industry. I think a lot of people just don't realize how advanced it is becoming, and it's becoming advanced very quickly. And I think there's so much opportunity. That's why I'm on Twitch now. Everybody said, "Oh, you're going to Twitch. That's for gamers and young people." Well, guess what? Exactly. We have to go where the gamers and young people are.
Yes. So
you know? I don't care if they call me old and gray and no hair, whatever. as long as they listen every once in a while to what we're talking about out here. So, but you know, with the NAHB student chapter, I mean, typically, you know, Eric, talk a little bit about what happened with that and what the opportunities were for the students.
So we're keeping it going. Student chapter is very alive and well, where we've got our competition that happens every year at International Builders Show. Students are working right now to finish up their packet that's due a week from this Thursday. And so a lot of the teams, we thought we'd see a drop off, and we've actually got almost a full schedule. What's nice about this year, it's all going to be online, so you can pick your favorite team and you can watch them. Students are going to want that industry exposure. Right. They're going to want that industry connection. They're hungry for it. They've been isolated in their basement. They've been isolated in their Zoom calls. They're isolated from each other. And so the more that industry reaches out to students, participates by being at the presentations, reaches out. I mean, one of the things that we're doing in everybody's electronic packet is a link to their resume. We're doing things to connect students online with industry, because that's one of the biggest challenge right now is, we don't have the community to show up in Orlando this year like we were hoping. Right. So if you're looking for you need students, you need new hires, then you can reach out to me, not because you're going to hire a DU student, but because I can connect you with a university in your market. And you can reach out to the website of nhb.org and the different type of membership, and Sarah Weber and Zach Riley there at NHB that support the student chapter, and they can connect you with a university and a residential champion. You have an opportunity to make an impact on students' lives and your business, because you hire people that want to be in the industry, students that are excited and can bring new technology and new training into your business. So please, we just love to get these students jobs. That is the main reason a lot of us are in academia, is to train them up and prepare them for industry.
Yeah. So I'm going to throw this out there publicly, Eric. Judy Donnell, who works with all the associates, these are all people that hire people all the time,
Yep.
We've had some people on this, show that were looking for jobs that partake in the conversation in the show. Anthony Goudet was one of them. I don't think he'd mind me saying his name, as he was searching to get into offsite. And he had more opportunities come to him just by participating in what we are doing here. Maybe that's what we should do with your seniors. Have them come on and talk about what they're looking to do and look where they're looking to go. And
that'd be awesome.
Wouldn't that be a lot of fun?
Yeah, it'd be great. I mean, it'd be a virtual interview. So glad to do that. We could connect up to a lot of students.
That would be a ton of fun. Have them come on once, a month or once a quarter, whatever. Maybe we have a panel of them. We set a camera up wherever they're at, or on the Zoom call type thing. But I do think it's a lot of fun. I do think we have to think about it differently, and we have to use our platforms differently on how we do that. So, because right now, job fairs, career fairs, what now? They're not happening.
Yeah, they're all virtual. It's a challenge. Some of the platforms that are coming out there for academia are not free. But so, and it's hard to get that connection. I mean, you lose out on some of the interviewing skills that you get, whether you're face to face. There's a whole lot of different connection with the students than say, hey, I'm just looking at a talking head or a resume. So students are getting used to it. They hated being online in March when we first went online, and they complained about it and wanted a discount. And now, I had a class that was face-to-face with a partial small group online this last fall. By mid-quarter, everybody was online because it was more convenient than coming into the classroom. But it's still different, and we're getting used to it. And so we're trying to sort through, and there are universities that are doing it really well and connecting. And so that's one of the things that we're going to be doing with the International Builder Show, is really trying to connect all these teams. So you can see students that have put their heart and soul into this competition and love residential development and residential construction. So again, I can't push that enough. Go to the NHB student chapter website and you'll see the schedule and the teams and
put it in the ticker below.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Yeah. No, I think it's great. And look, even right now, here's an opportunity. 84 Lumber is looking for lots of people. So, Eric, did you know 84 Lumber is a woman-owned organization?
I did not.
That's
I know
right.
Judy from 84 Lumber.
Yeah.
She's very active with their student chapter, and she's been to our meetings and board meetings and spoke to us a lot of times. So that's fantastic.
Judy is a passionate person when it comes to this industry. And, I don't even know if it's the industry. I think she just loves helping people. she loves bringing people together, bringing opportunity together. So I know she loves the industry. So I hope I didn't say that wrong, but it's just her personality. I think whatever Judy was doing, she would put her heart and soul in it just for other people to be successful and to get to where they want to go. I call Judy an overachiever. I don't know how she has time to do all the stuff she does. I need a university on how to become an overachiever, because I just get lost in the shuffle some days. But I do think, right there, 84 Lumber.
They're huge
chapter. But here you go. You got students, you got, female students, you have any student that's looking for a job, they are out there. So let's put the word out. There you go. You should hang a job board up at the university. Well, I guess nobody's in class. You need a virtual job board.
But all these universities have, virtual job boards now, and we have a weekly newsletter that goes out that lists jobs, both in our area and if someone is hiring somewhere else and wants to post it. We've got students. Students are getting more used to wanting to either travel or because of, depending on their job, they may not have to travel.
That's right.
The world's gone through the biggest work at home experiment ever, and it's working. So.
It is working. Sorry, I was reading the notes here. Cameron wrote another follow-up. Duncan, are the students trained to certify under systems like Passive House?
They are. Not specifically in our program at Passive House, but a lot of them go through LEED and get their LEED certification. Other universities across the nation are doing that. So it's just, if you're looking for a specific certification, reach out through student chapters. They can put a ping out to all their faculty and figure out which ones you're looking for and who's training on it. So, but it's definitely one that comes up a lot of times in the industry. And so I know it's not something we discuss here at the University of Denver, but because it doesn't fit our market, at least it hasn't. But other universities are training in that. So,
yeah. Well, it's a huge topic right now. And I think that, the reality of Passive House, LEED certification, which there's so many of them now.
NHB Green, well building standards. There's a ton of them, and so we talk about them in class. The one that we do have students go through in the LEED class, that if they go and earn their LEED certification, it's an automatic A. They don't even have to do the final. So we motivate them. We give them opportunities. Some students take them, some don't.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, you're right. There's a lot of them out there now, and just in the way of building systems in general, you start incorporating a lot more of those practices in than general site, building. And I do know in the building systems world, there's more and more conversation, and that's why we have our show BS Friday, Building, Science Friday, because we're bringing those two worlds together to talk about it. It makes sense, and it's not that hard to do.
Yep. Yeah, a lot of our universities are training students for who's hiring them. Well, if the high production builders are hiring, that's what we focus on. If your market is more custom home builders that are hiring, that's what we focus on. So, unfortunately, that's the reality of sometimes the academic world is, we cater to our industry. So,
yeah, for sure. All right, Tim Sims. Hi, Eric. Met you at HIA. We'll reach out to you about the affordable housing white paper we're working on.
Would love to talk with you about that, Tim. That would be great.
Yeah, Tim's with John Burns Real Estate Consulting.
Fantastic.
Formerly Nishiha, the signing company. Okay. And if he ever tells you he's in his treehouse, he really is in his treehouse.
Nice.
Gotta love it. It's a nice treehouse. It's like one of those Treehouse Masters treehouses.
Yeah.
Nicer than my house. Yeah. No, which is a lot of fun. All right, Eric. So let's wrap this up on where we're headed here. So we are going to take this show on the road in February. We're going to take Dave Cooper live on the road. We're starting in February, maybe even a little bit sooner. Moving out of our house this week. I'm surprised you can't hear all the packing and the boxes. So we're going to have a light week as far as some other shows, but not Thursday and Friday. But I can tell you this, Eric. We're going to find a way to work with the University of Denver and the other student chapters to bring what we're doing to the universities. I think it would be a lot of fun, like we were talking about, to set up in a university parking lot and run our live show and maybe bring some of the students in to partake in that, social distancing, of course, but also as a way for the associate members, for suppliers, for manufacturers, to see who's out there, to connect with these students, because it's not happening live anymore. So we're going to try and bring the live to them and make it real and make it interactive and just have a lot of fun with it. And I'm excited to continue this conversation.
And Dave, the students are hungry. They want to get out of their dorms. They want to get out of their basements. They want to get outside and do something for real construction. That's one of our biggest challenges right now. We've gone to this online teaching method. When I show them a video, or show them your videos of them of a modular home or of a window manufacturer, they're tired of watching. They want to be doing. Yeah. So that's exciting. So we'll put a shout out through NHB student chapters, wherever you're going, your travels take you, to connect up with other universities, 4-year schools, 2-year schools, high schools. But that would be the students need it. The industry.
Yeah. No, they do need it, and we need it. I mean, look at you and me. We're a little gray, we're not the young bucks in the field anymore. We need some fresh minds in the industry. So Eric, I appreciate you taking some time coming on the show today.
Hey, thank you so much for letting me be here. I'm excited, and it's so good to see everybody that chimed in and watched this. Thank you. Definitely reach out to both Dave and I on affordability housing and impact study, and then his roadshow, and then students and the student chapter, and how we can get not just my students, but students across the nation that are looking for jobs and residential industry champions.
Yeah, for sure. So don't go anywhere, anybody, because Thursday we have Kristen Swarchek coming on. She's in the business of helping people change their lives. She's been popping up all over the place. She definitely has a ton of connections. She has like 15,000 connections just on LinkedIn alone. So you definitely want to tune in Thursday with Miles Biggs and myself, Biggs Idea, who is also an author and a TED Talk speaker. And Eric, I don't know if you know this, he just was ranked in the top 5 podcasts in the country.
Wow. That's awesome.
This is a young guy making it happen. And then Friday, we have Corbett Lunsford coming on, and that's going to be another great show. So we really are looking forward to everything that we have coming up this week. Tuesday, Wednesday, and part of Thursday, I'm moving. So I'm trying to just limit what I have to do so I can focus on my family a little bit. But we're going to still go live, and we're still going to bring great content. We just may have a shorter show. If I can do that. I've already lost enough hair. I don't want to lose any more. All right, everybody. Listen, thank you so much for tuning in. Eric, thank you so much for joining us today. It's always a pleasure having you on. I look forward to continuing our conversation. Greg, Judy, Cameron, everybody else out there that joined us today. Tim, please have a wonderful week, and thank you so much for your time. We look forward to talking to you guys soon. Again, I'm Dave Cooper, Eric Holtz, Assistant Professor, University of Denver. All right, Eric, thanks, buddy. Stay tuned. I'll be right back to you. Bye now.
Bye.